I feel like this was the full short track experience.
I got it all.
You got everything, right?
I did. It's like it was a lot of boxes got checked for that race. I had a couple big mistakes. I thought I gave I think Matt Cox in the 51. I thought I gave him the room he needed on the back straightaway. So I don't know if he had a little more room out there or not, or maybe I just drove into his left rear. But down into one and I spun to zero out. That was my fault. I just was over my head. It was late in the race and I was just kind of not using my brain very well, but overdrove the corner and drove, about wrecked us both. But fun race, fast car, saved my tires, did all those things right, had plenty of race car to win, just didn't have my head on straight in those last 20 laps. I don't know, I was just kind of got to seeing how, what the possibilities were, and wow, we might be able to run second. I thought the 22 was going to win. Yes, it was super fast. He worked it up. He worked and wore it out a little bit trying to get there, but I think he had a little more car than we did. But I was like, man, I might run second in this thing. So then that happened. But a lot of fun. Happy for Bass Pro Shops that hopefully they had fun with us running around there. Amazing turnout. A lot of great fans here. Loved all the cars that entered. I mean, they had just as many cars last year, I think, entering the race. But loved getting to meet all the drivers, and didn't get to meet everybody, but loved kind of one-on-one interacting with drivers and owners and so forth. And I see a lot of familiar pieces. Saw Greg Marlowe, and we took a picture down on the front straightaway with 3 or 4 drivers that raced here in the 90s that I hadn't seen in forever. Edward Jordan and a couple other guys. In Myrtle Beach days in the 90s, me and Edward would park side by side, and he had a KFC sponsorship, and I had the Sundrop sponsorship. I'd give him a case of Sundrop, and he'd give us a rotisserie chicken. But things were so simple back then, and it's fun to come back and have some fun. Man, you did an awesome job all day. You were literally the only way to keep up with what was going on here today. And I know you take a lot of pride in your work, but it was exceptional as usual. As all this was happening, and laps were changing for features and time limits and all that stuff was going on, you kept everybody up to breast because it was difficult for a lot of us to get timing and scoring and so forth. So.
You were the happiest short tracker that I've ever met who's gone off track twice, was involved in 2 incidents, was sent to the back twice, and yet here you are all smiles. Is that because this is kind of what you wanted to come back and experience?
Well, I think I was so nervous in qualifying, and we almost, we didn't make the top 20, and I'm like, oh my God, what if I screw this up and we don't even make the race? And I was joking with Steve. I was like, man, what are we going to do if we don't make the race? You can't plug me into the back of the field. He's like, and so as soon as I made it, I know he's got a million things going on. I called him, and I was like, hey man, we ain't going to worry about that no more. That was a miserable experience. But qualifying, I've always gotten way more nervous for qualifying than any race. And so qualifying for me is just nail biter, but especially if you might go home, But for most of my life, we've always had a guaranteed spot. We never had to worry about that in any, Xfinity Cup or anything. We're spoiled. So that was tough sitting there and grinding through that. But we got going in the race, and I started realizing how good the car was and how I felt like, man, I'm saving the hell out of this left rear tire, this left front. We come down pit road, they're like, tires look brand new, man. You got way more tire than they got. I'm like, shoot, all right, this is working in our favor. So they all ran so hard at the start. I don't know why they did that, but we kind of sat there and rode an 18th for that first segment. Yeah.
What's your wish list for next year? You said you want to do 2, 3, 4, something like that. Yeah. Do you have like a track wish list? Well,
for me, the track has to have a lot of abrasion. Place like here or Wilkesboro, it's got to wear tires. I have nothing against any of these other racetracks, but I probably won't go to some of the tracks where there's not a lot of fall off and not a lot of tire conservation, and you just kind of run qualifying laps every run. And I don't know if I could cut it. If I had to go to South Boston, where me being able to have an opportunity to kind of like sit and save gives me a chance. Do what I did at Wilkesboro and what we almost did here tonight. But going to a place like Dominion or somewhere where you just got to go hard every lap, and there's, you know, it's really kind of comes down to the cars turning and working. I don't think I drive this car as well as the guys that race in the series regularly. Me and Josh were talking about how I use the brakes and everything else, and it's like he can get in the car and he can get a fast lap out of it. He can run that. He could have ran that 50 or, you know, that high 50 that we needed in qualifying with the way the car was. I can't, you know, the way I brake and trail brake and stuff, it doesn't load the stops the right way, so the car doesn't turn. In the race, I can find the pace or just kind of, you know, don't burn my stuff up. But so I don't know if I'd be good at those other tracks where you kind of got to run hard, and you don't have a lot of fall off.